Hey folks, welcome back. In this lecture, we will discuss some advanced analytics techniques and graphs. So, when you do some analysis on the data, it's often a good idea to look at things from a 50,000 feet overview and then dig more deeper, right? So, this is where some of the advanced Tableau visualization and charting techniques come into play. So the main goal of this lecture and a series of the further lectures would be to look at least some of the charting techniques that Tableau offers, and that may be helpful for your analysis. So, for instance, say you're analyzing all sales in the United States by state, right? And you estimate that that you made about $100 million in sales in 2017. So your boss appreciates your analysis and asks you, what are the top states that contributed to $100 million sales? A best way to answer this question is actually using the 80-20 rule, meaning most of the time 20% of the clients will contribute to about 80% of your sales. And a better way of representing this is actually something called as Pareto charts. And it was named after a person called V. Pareto. So I have actually added a Wikipedia link for this one. So let's open that. All right. So this is some information on Pareto charts, but we will go through it. The first thing is, it was kind of named after a person called V. Pareto, and this is how a typical Pareto chart looks like, right? It has a bar graph and then it has a line, and we'll walk through this in a second. But if you look at the typical definition, what it says is the left vertical axis is the frequency of occurrence, but it can alternatively represent the cost or another important unit of measure. And the right vertical axis is the cumulative percentage of the total number of occurrences, right? And let's actually look at an example over here. So let's say this graph, right? So I just clicked on that. So what you see is this is just like a simple bar graph, right? So what it has is the total late arrivals and the number of times that has occurred by these reasons, right? So if there are 1,000 arrivals, late arrivals, maybe 300 of them were due to traffic, 200 were due to childcare, and so on and so forth, right? So basically, if you say that, okay, of the total 1,000 cases, how much is contributed by traffic, how much is contributed to traffic and childcare, that sort of answers is what this graph provides. So if you look at this particular line chart, what it says is traffic, the reason equal to traffic, right? That basically accounts to about 32% of the total, right? Of the total late arrivals, 32% is due to traffic, right? The next point, if you see, is childcare, and the corresponding point that you see is about 60%. Now, what this says is, traffic and childcare. So it's kind of a running total. Okay, so traffic and childcare contribute to 60% of late arrivals. So that's how you should read this graph, right? So traffic and childcare and public transportation contributes to about 78% of the total late arrivals. So now this graph is very simple to read, right? You can actually say that, okay, what are the top 80% is this much. This is your cutoff point, right? This is your cutoff point where it kind of shows the 80% is due to these three reasons. So if somebody asks you that, what is the problem we need to solve, you'd say that these are the three problems which are majorly contributing to 80% of the late arrivals, right? Now this graph is actually very simple because you just had like 6 points here on the x-axis, right? 6 reasons. Now imagine that you have 2,000 reasons, right? So looking at this graph, you can actually say that out of those 2,000 reasons, you need to concentrate on only 4 reasons because they contribute 80% of the late arrivals, right? So that is how it helps you to kind of formulate your analysis and actually tell a better story on this one. All right, so I hope we are clear on the overall definition of what a Pareto chart is and how to go about actually reading that. So let's go ahead and plot some data in Tableau and kind of see how that works out. So let me actually go ahead and just create some dummy data. And what I'm going to do is maybe I'll just use the same example that is given in Wikipedia, right? So let's just create two columns. Maybe I'll call the first column as late arrivals or late arrival cause, and the second as number of cases reported. And I'll just put down those 5 reasons here, right? So the one is whatever, public transportation. Let's just give some random number like 150 occurrences, and I'll just pause the video and just make some changes to this. All right, so I have put in some sample data over here, and looking at this, you'll know that the total is whatever, let's see, the total is around 950. So 150 divided by 950 will give you the percentage, 10 divided by, so you can kind of get the contribution by each of these causes. And essentially we are going to plot this into a Pareto chart and see how we can best make use of Tableau to represent that information. So I'll go ahead and save this, and I'll call this as Pareto new, something like this. All right, so we have some data to play with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up Tableau, and I'm going to create a new data source, and I'll go ahead and connect to the file that we just created. Call this as Pareto new, and once that is imported, we can actually see the 5 rows that we just put into the file, right? So I'll go ahead and create a new sheet, and the simple way to start a report is just create a simple tabular report, right? So this is how you would kind of represent this whole information in a simple tabular report. Now what we want to do is we want to actually go ahead and create a Pareto chart, right? So the first thing what you can do is make this into a bar chart, right? And then you can plot it into the x-axis, all the reasons, and the y-axis shows the number of cases reported. And I can go ahead and just sort this so that you get this sorted list from the top to the bottom, right? And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fit this as an entire view so that it fills up the screen. And there is a particular way to actually create a Pareto chart. And first thing what you do is you have to duplicate this, right? So the way you do the duplication of rows is hold the control key, click on sum number of records, and then number of cases reported, and then just drag and drop one more. So you see that there are 2 graphs, one below the other, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform the bottom graph into a line chart, and this kind of gives me a line. All right, so there are a couple of calculated fields that I need to adjust. Sorry, a quick table calculations that I need to adjust so that I get a good look and feel of a Pareto chart. All right, so how do I go about doing that? So the first thing what I need to do is I need to go here and say quick table calculation and say running total. So it'll kind of give me a running total of this, right? So the first one is 500, and then 500 plus 200 is 700, and this keeps increasing, right? So this is like the first step. The second step what I want to do is basically have a table calculation. I need to edit the table calculation, and I need to do 2 things here, right? One is I need to make sure that late arrival cause is the dimension I'm referring to, and the second is I need to add a secondary calculation where what I want is basically a percent of total, right? So this will give me a percent of total because we want to represent it as a percentage, like a running percentage, right? So once that is done, you're pretty much ready. Then what I do is just right click and say dual axis, and then it plots one above the other, right? Now you see that this is more of a a different format of representation. I can just simply go here and say just show me the bar charts, and it'll show me the typical bar charts, right? So this is what we saw in that in that Wikipedia link. So this is the Wikipedia page, but again there are a couple of things we can do to format this even better. So first and foremost is definitely hold your control button, and then maybe you can just use labels, so it'll actually show you all the percentages. And again, you can go ahead and format this to just show maybe one decimal point and so on and so forth. So you can do all those routine stuff that we have discussed. Definitely, if you want to show the numbers against these bar charts, you can just press the control button, and then, just before we do that, just undo that. We need to make sure you're referencing the correct set. So press the control button, drag and drop into the label, and then you get all the labels, right? And then definitely, if you want to hide it, you can hide an axis and do all the good stuff. But this is the overall gist of it, right? So how you would read this is, 50 to 52 percentage of the total late arrivals is due to traffic, right? And about 75%, 74% is due to traffic and childcare. So this is how you would represent. Again, if you want to start putting control lines and stuff like that, if you want to put a line over say 80% over here, something like this, you can definitely do that. And the way you do that is just use the constant line. So this is something we covered in our previous lectures. So you say that I want it at 80%, and then it'll kind of show you the 80% mark, and this is the intersection point, right? So if you look at this, this is basically the two main reasons that contribute to 80% of your total late arrivals. So we'll definitely discuss one or two more such advanced graphing techniques, but I hope you got a good understanding of or a gist of how to use the Pareto charts. It's really powerful, very simplifies your overall storytelling capability, and able to kind of show what your data is telling you. So hope you like that. Stay tuned for the next lecture where we visit some more concepts. Thank you.